Okay. Hello and welcome to the Cats and Books Club podcast. This time we have a guest. It's Sam, Aaron's boyfriend. And say hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
All right, Aaron, introduce yourself, even though I already introduced you. I'm Izzy.
And I'm Erin, and we're here today for the cats and the books. And Izzy had an update he wanted to share about the cats, so go ahead.
Yes, both the cats are in my room. Cleo's on the bed, and I moved this cat hammock into my bedroom, and Gemini's sitting on it. And his tail keeps hitting the blinds because the blinds are up over it like a little canopy tent. And he's watching birds and getting mad, and he's been jumping up against the window trying to catch bugs. So that's my cat update. How's your cat?
So Akila she's being her normal crazy self. And Pippin, that cat, I swear to God. So Pippin is a long-haired cat. Actually more like medium hair, but it's long enough that it gets gross. Yeah. And I was petting her one night and I realized she had 2 or 3 mats in her fur. And I'm like, oh, this is nasty. So I had to cut them out, which she did not appreciate. But now she has a bald spot on her back.
I know. Jemmy had a mat that I had to cut out just recently also. It's the season. Winter coats are coming off.
Thank God. I'm so ready for spring and summertime.
It's almost here. So the book we're talking about today is Halfling, because we had the interview, but we didn't get to discuss it, and we wanted to discuss it because Sam read it too. Aaron and Sam read it on their end. So yay, here we are. What should we start discussing?
Should we start with the characters, kind of the main ones?
Yeah. Aaron, do you want to do it?
Yeah. So first we kind of start out with this orc named Orek. Orek the orc. I thought that was pretty funny. I kept laughing.
Well,
I know, I was kind of laughing. Anyway, so for those of you who really like fantasy, this book is for you. It starts out with this orc, and we kind of start out
half orc.
That's right, half orc. He is half human, half orc. And his mother she was taken by the orcs to be kind of a slave to the orcs, really. And she decides one night that she's going to run away from the orc camp, but she doesn't take Orek with her, which is this devastating. So we start out at this kind of devastating moment.
Abandonment.
Yeah, it was bam, okay.
And she was like, "You'll never fit in with my kind. Basically, I can't take you. They don't like you, or yeah, they don't like orcs out there."
Right. It's like you look
It's fantasy racism. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, fantasy racism. Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly what it is. And then we kind of bounce forward 20 years later. So we get this horrible little snapshot. Poor Orek being abandoned. He's I don't know, 7 or 8 or something like that. He's small. And then we bounce forward 20 years later. And then Orek discovers that the orcs of the camp have also taken another young woman. And obviously, he has horrible feelings about that because that's exactly what happened to his mother. So we meet kind of our second character, Sorcha.
Yeah, she's the one who got kidnapped from a long way away. Mm-hmm. And it's her dad is in works for the king or whatever, so he's sort of in the royalty hierarchy a little bit.
He's a lord.
And
he's a lord of the realm.
His whole job is to get the slavers basically and put them behind bars. And so it's interesting that her dad like that she was the one targeted when that's the job of her dad. So that's
It's
something
kind of-
for later.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of this horrible twist of irony that she gets taken kind of right out from her family's nose. But Orek meets her because the Orcs basically said, here, guard this tent. And no one goes in, no one goes out. Well, Orek, he's like, screw that. So he goes in, he discovers poor Sorcha in there, and she's like gagged and bound. And he has this moment where he's like, I cannot let this happen to another woman. So instead, he takes off. Him and Sorcha, they take off running from the camp.
Yeah, he's like, yo, I know you want to get out of here. I want you to get out of here. Let's get out of here. She's like, don't have to ask me twice.
Bye.
But yeah, they set out, grab some shit and run while everybody's distracted. And then they like get attacked by slavers on the way out there again. Were they trying to get Sorcha back?
Um,
Or was
I
it just
believe
randomly
it was,
like
I think it was just like random attackers, and they were like, yeah, fuck this. They were like, nope, I'm attack you first. But what I also wanted to bring up about Sorcha is that she is the eldest daughter of her family.
right?
And there's a
So we have
lot of
an
children
only child meets a kid from a large family.
from a large family. And her mother and father have this sort of what she calls kind of a sweeping romance story. But something that Sorcha always brings up is how, even though she knows her father is very important in the land, that he's an important lord, that he is always so much away from home, that she felt there was a lot of responsibility put on Sorcha from her family, from all members of her family, to kind of pick up a lot of the tasks in the home. Which comes into play later. But so we sort of get this sweeping little start of this romance where these two are kind of just going on a fantasy woods adventure, this little journey.
Yeah, Sam, what are you thinking at the beginning of the book?
I'm thinking this is starting. I want to say fairly typical of a standard romance. I mean, this girl, a guy rescues a girl. It's not
two worlds, one family.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Two worlds, one family. Oh my gosh.
As Phil Collins wisely stated.
That's right. And this is a little unrelated, but we have a cat here right now, a cat guest.
Oh, good.
Akila, she always wants to be a guest. I did
Show the cat.
Well, if she'll let me. Come here.
He will hop in my lap when I'm in that chair when I'm working.
I did a podcast interview. I actually was interviewed myself a few weeks ago, and Akila jumped right in my lap. And it was like she wanted to be part of the podcast. It was funny.
Let me in. Well, okay, so after they get attacked by slavers and get away, they're trying to find like a human town. Basically, any human town. They're like, yeah,
Yes.
sounds good. That'll work. So they find it, and Sorcha wants him to come in with her, even though he's like, this is a terrible idea. She's like, just cover your face, and it's fine. Oh, wait, they meet the raccoon before they get to the town.
I started to say, wait a minute,
Yeah,
we're forgetting an important character. Before they get to the human town, they hear this tiny little raccoon, and it's screaming in pain. It's all sad because it's a little baby raccoon, and it fell out of the tree and it broke its little leg. And so Orek takes the raccoon, he resets the leg, he like wraps it up in his like hood and cloak. And so he becomes this little tiny warm friend for them. And Dara is like the stealer of the show. I swear to God. I get on the author guys as S.E. Wendel. And you can go on her Instagram. She's got a really active Instagram where she posts like character art. And there's a bunch of character art of Dara In fact, she just posted new stuff the other day, and it was the cutest little thing. Because part of them meeting that raccoon is that Orek kind of spoils the raccoon. So the raccoon gets like really, really fat because he's constantly like letting the raccoon
snacks
stuff. It's hilarious. But yes, and then they get to the human town. And oh Lord.
Yeah, so everybody's a bitch at this town. They're like, we don't like your kind here, you orc whore. They're like, oh, let me guess, you came from the orc fucking place. You've already been ruined by them. So they're all a bitch, and she's sort of blackmails this lady into letting her take a bath and buy shit, even though she didn't want to. And Orek was like, I'm gonna step out. Did he go in or did he not go in?
No, he went in. Yeah, eventually.
I couldn't remember. But then she's like, "Oh, this place sucks. I definitely can't get any help here or stay here." So she ends up finding Orek again. A nice moment though, while they were in this city, is Orek sees a bunch of other raccoons, and they're all in a bunch of cages, and he's like, "Take this money. I'm buying all of them," and he just like releases them into the wild.
I know. I freaking loved that part. I was like, oh my God, that's so cute.
It was pretty good.
Yeah. Like, and then, yeah, because at that moment, they both were thinking, oh, we're going to split up. Our time together is over.
Like, oh, I'll miss you. I guess this is the end.
This is the end. And it's funny because, like, I mean, I knew as soon as I read it, I was like, no, this isn't the end. But, and then we kind of get this horrible moment. There is this orc at the camp named Silas, and he's like this tracker orc, and he's pretty vicious and mean. And he actually attacks them on the road.
He ends up hunting them down and finds them. And so there's this really pretty major battle where Orek like almost dies. He gets like fucked up, and then Silas gets washed down the river. And of course, we know he's not dead. There's no way. But they're like, well, at least he's somewhere else now. That's fine.
Totally won't come back.
He totally won't come back.
Surely. Yeah, but basically Sorcha's like, I gotta get him help. Oh no. And so she has to like run away.
Yeah, she has to like leave him where he's at for a minute, and then she goes to this couple that she finds. She finds this couple.
It's just a farmhouse, random.
It's a farmhouse.
Yeah.
And she gets there and she's like, distraught and kind of a mess. And both the farmer and his wife are like, yo, slow down, like calm down. What is going on? But they go and they help her get him.
Yeah, at first they're like, we don't like orcs. And she's like, for fuck's sake, just let me fucking just shut up. I'll help you do bullshit on your farm. Let me just have a medicine, please. Then they're like, fine.
And then they bring him back, and then they both are kind of like staying in the stables.
So how do we feel about the stables moment? Like the period of time that they spend at this couple's house is like a little bit of normalcy break where they get to talk to each other, not like in grave danger.
Right, and they get a little bit of normalcy.
Kitty.
Oh, we have Akila joining the podcast.
It's a bub.
Say hello.
Kitty.
I don't think she cares.
She doesn't care.
She's like, fuck you. Escaping.
Escape.
Get me out of here.
I thought she would do a cute little meow or something.
No.
Anyway, going back to the stables, I thought it was a nice moment for them to kind of have that bit of normalcy and to talk with one another and to just get to know one another in a low stress situation. And
Sam, what did you think?
Oh, it's kind of nice and sweet. It shows a little bit more intimacy because up at that point, we only see like a couple of small sparks. We hadn't really seen a whole lot of intimacy from them up until they get to the stable where things kind of slow down for just a moment.
Yeah, like they can actually spend time together that isn't like, are we gonna die?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is always nice. It's always a healthier relationship when you're not like on the verge of death at all times.
Exactly. Well,
but yeah, there's a lot of like knowing smiles from the like matriarch of the farm. She's like,
yeah.
even though he hogs the bed, we love them anyway. And she's like,
I know I feel like she spends that time at the farm trying to deny her feelings. Like, um, she doesn't want to give in to those feelings if Orek doesn't feel the same way. And it's funny because Orek also doesn't want to give into his feelings because he thinks she doesn't feel the same way. It's really funny. Something that I loved that does happen at the farm. She's talking about her freckles, and Sorcha says that she hates her freckles. And she's like, I hate them. They're all over me, blah, blah, blah. And I love that he says that he doesn't hate them because they're beautiful and they're like stars in the night sky. And I'm just like, oh, that's so cute.
That's so cute.
It is cute. And then another cute thing that I thought was funny was when Sorcha finally comes down from her adrenaline and she's like trying, like she starts to actually rest a bit. She's like, what about Dara, the raccoon? I can care for him. And then Kara, who is the matriarch, like the wife.
Oh, that's right. That was her name.
Farm, Kara and Angus. Kara's like, oh, don't worry. I don't think you're getting that raccoon back anytime soon because my kids are playing with the raccoon.
Right.
I thought that was cute.
He was a family favorite.
Was a family favorite, and I loved that raccoon sidekick. That was just clever.
Okay, so after they heal, they do all the shit, and it's cute, and then he helps her do a bunch of work and realizes that she's running herself ragged, and then that's like left over from her family dynamic of having to do the most at all times.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then it's really funny because by that point, Sorcha realizes that she really is starting to like him. Like they go and she convinces him, like, oh, we can go to an inn and we can have a real night's rest in a nice bed. And she keeps trying to get him to share the bed with her.
He's like, it's fine.
And he's like, no, I'm good on the floor. I'm good on the floor. And Sorcha's like, oh my God. Like, it was funny.
A gun. Get in the
bed. Like, get in the bed.
End up banging because it was failed.
Yep, it was failed. Fail. And then we get to one of my favorite parts, which I have dubbed the cave scene, basically. But it's this very steamy part where
the
stuff
cave
finally
scene
happens. Yes. But yeah, I love how she kind of tells Dara to go to sleep. Like, oh, nope, you go to sleep. You're a baby. You don't need to see or hear any of
Goodbye. Plug your ears.
Basically.
It was funny. But I love that cave part.
Put the blanket over the raccoon.
Blanket over the raccoon. Actually, the
like a bird cage.
Setting, like a bird cage.
Just shush. Go to bed now. It's dark time. Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
Good.
All right, so they finally bang. Hooray!
I mean, I have to say, I thought the smut was pretty good in the book overall.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I thought it was like well done.
It was well done. Like,
Sam, what did you think?
I mean, I'm generally not reading for smut, but
I mean, yeah, right. But you're like, oh, it was fun.
Okay, and then we get to this pivotal part in the book. Like, holy crap. I actually was in shock because I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
I mean, I kind of felt it was going to be a Chekhov's gun situation. It was going to come back.
Well,
Who,
I
Silas?
guess.
No, well,
Him too, but
Orla, his mom.
Oh, yeah.
They're at the town and they're getting
they
supplies.
find another town.
Yes, but they're going around getting stuff, and then he sees his mother, and it's just like this moment of like, cool.
Yeah, he's having trauma flashbacks, and it's a whole thing. And like Sorcha's like, why is he closing himself up? He's not talking to me. Oh my god, which, does happen.
Yeah,
When
because
people don't know what to do with their trauma, they just sort of shut down.
and it was quite a moment. I think I understood where Sorcha's anger towards his mom was coming from. Because, I mean, when you look at it overall, it does seem a rather crap thing to do to your child and just abandon them and
Right.
know that you're abandoning them not at a safe place, like a place where he's going to be like, made fun of and abused and like
horrifically so, and nearly killed on multiple occasions.
Yeah, it's just
it's just kind of like, wow, this lady doesn't give a fuck about anybody but herself.
I mean, I could see it as her,
but also,
this is someone who was kidnapped and raped repeatedly.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that for sure. That like I could imagine why it would be like every time I look at you, I think about the horrible things that happened to me, and it's like, yeah.
I think her character is just supposed to be more morally gray at best. We're not supposed to hate her or like her. She's just, there to show a horrible side of the picture.
Right. That it's just like this kind of trauma fucks up the family dynamic a lot.
Something else that I found interesting about the orc culture was that, they would get like jewelry, like earrings for like triumphs. So for like battles won or hunts gone well or blah, 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 blah. And Orek only had one gold hoop that they had allowed him, even though he had done just as much, if not more, battles and things like that. And just like the little
just like
things.
the discrimination details.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I really like remind you of a lot of ways people are discriminated against here.
It did.
Oh, you served in the army? Well, you're a minority, so you don't get as much fucking anything, actually, on purpose.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. It was an interesting viewpoint and all that. And I think a lot of things, I think fantasy in general can put big topics like racism or sexism, homophobia, any one of those topics. Not all of those were presented in this book necessarily, but I think fantasy has a way of putting it into that fantasy realm to make people
it's like in a different framework.
It's in a different framework. And I think sometimes it causes people to focus in on those things more than if it's kind of in your face, like done in your face, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people find it a little bit more easily digestible if it's something like in a book, in a fantasy book, in a, show or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get past his mother and we get past that little bit of trauma. So we kind of focus in on Sorcha a bit too, where she is worried about they've been on the road alone, and she knows that when they go back to her family home that she's going to have those same responsibilities. Her family's really big. Her family, is
overwhelming.
Yeah, they're overwhelming.
She's like, I don't know if he's going to want to stick around for all this.
So she has her own worries kind of popping up too. Of course, Orek is like, yeah, I'm coming. I don't care. Like, this is great. But I loved how, as we see her kind of go back into her family unit and how he sees things that bother him in the family dynamic, which I thought was really interesting.
Like that Sorcha's doing a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, oh, she'll do it. Oh, I don't need to do it. Sorcha's back.
Yes, like there was that moment at the breakfast table, and she literally had just gotten back. And I guess one of the other kids had kind of picked up like feeding like the pigs or chickens or something like that. I don't remember. But I just remember like her mom.
And this is after she's been like kidnapped. And they're like, oh, go take her back now. How easy that was.
Not anymore.
Now you can do these chores. And it's like, what the fuck?
I know. I was like,
you mean?
Yeah, she really, like, they all literally just got here. They just got back. They've been traveling on the road. I think it was like 2 weeks, like, what? But it just showed you just how much they were putting on Sorcha. And Orek, he starts to get pretty irritated because he's like, you're literally putting all this pressure on yourself. You're going to the stables and working with the horses, and you're cooking meals, and you're cleaning this, and you're mucking stalls, and you're like literally doing like everything on this freaking farm.
Mm-hmm.
And like I love this. There's this moment where, from Orek's point of view, he's just kind of like, the rest of the family seem to do. He's like, I'm not really sure what they do with their days. Because he's like saying like the father and the 2 oldest brothers, they train, which is, whatever, they're soldiers, cool. They're training, but they do it like all day. And he's like, they seem to be training for something.
Right. He's like, training for fucking what?
But he's like, he's like, I've been helping her out the entire time I've been here. He's like, I help her out and go do chores and stuff like that. So I just thought it was this interesting little like view.
Yeah, where he's like, this is like not. Like that. Well, because there is that kind of dynamic between like your significant other seeing you being like mistreated by your family and being like, I don't like watching it. Like I feel like I need to do something, but it's like not my place.
Mm-hmm. And he had this kind of moment of uncomfortableness of like, should I say something? Do we keep living like this?
Right.
And I genuinely think he kind of did speak up after a while. Because Sorcha like injures her shoulder because she's doing so much. She actually causes her like shoulder to be.
Oh shit.
And like he's like, that's because you're working like sun up to literal sundown. Like, what?
Yeah, like no time to process trauma. You have to fucking do labor.
And literally like the entire time. So I thought it was a great way to kind of show that burden that was being placed on her, and just how she didn't even, I feel like Sorcha didn't even see it herself.
Yeah, no, she just had it was normalized her whole life. Like she never thought about it.
She was parentified. She's the older daughter. I mean, that happens a whole lot.
Ooh, say that word again.
Parentified.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, there you go.
Actually,
we've got so much psychology in this book, and that's neat.
Actually,
I do like that.
Speaking of parentified, this is kind of it's not fantasy related, but it is like eldest daughter related. There was actually this, and they're still on TikTok, and I'm not going to name their name because they'd probably like attack this podcast if I did. Anyway, no, for real. Like they've attacked people before over TikTok. Anyway, there's this family on TikTok with several children. Like they have like a child like a year, which is fine. Whatever floats your boat, that's fine. But every single video they do, the eldest daughter, you can just watch the eldest daughter. You watch her in these cutesy little, we're having another baby videos. They literally, that eldest daughter is running around. I want you to know they did a video one time. One of the youngest children fell down and started crying. They keep filming. You want to know who helped that youngest kid off the floor?
It was, yeah.
The eldest daughter. And the eldest daughter is like, she's not even that old. She's like 10 or something ridiculous. And everyone's watching this like,
yeah, like leave this kid alone. What the fuck is wrong with you?
What is going on?
Take care of your own kid. What do you mean?
Like, take care of your children and maybe don't have like, yeah. A lot of people had a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, I'm sure
including myself. And I was like, so y'all are filming yourselves over TikTok first off, you're using your children for.
Oh, there's a lot of like exploitive TikToks, like children exploiting like weird fucked up shit. So in that respect, this character is like falling into maybe they don't see that it's a problem. They're like, what was this kid gonna do anyway? They might as well be doing labor for us, the family. And it's like, yeah, don't use your kids like love and devotion to fucking, I don't know. It's like, oh, it turns out here's something interesting, because she was gonna be a slave at that camp, but she's actually also a slave at her home.
Absolutely. And I think that because we are told that the father is out of the home a lot. He almost kind of gave me this military person type of vibe where they're out and they're doing military type things, which I totally respect that. But it is that burden on the family and on that person, the husband, where they're away from home. And, when they do come home, they only have so much time to spend with their family. So I feel like Sorcha was seeing that and knowing she didn't want that type of lifestyle for herself.
Right.
She said, I love my parents. I love that they have such this great love story, but I never wanted a man to leave for months at a time.
Right. She's
that
like,
wasn't
I
the
don't know how they can stand it.
And I think something that happened is that the mother really relied on Sorcha for a lot more than she should have. Almost like where Sorcha was like the second adult in the household.
Right, like because the dad was gone, it was like, well, you're the next at the chopping block. I need help.
Sam, do you I don't know. We want to talk about the sort of climactic ending.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Derek hits this moment where one of the younger siblings in Sorcha's family gets like really freaked out one night, and she like comes up and she's crying and she's saying like there's a monster in the woods.
Are you gonna talk about when they found out who sold Sorcha?
That comes later.
So I thought that came before.
Oh yeah, that does come before. Okay, hold up. Wait.
Aaron says, I take such good notes.
I take it then. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So first off, the first thing, kind of major climactic thing that happens is that Sorcha says, I turned down Lord Darrow's son. And Lord Darrow is kind of the lord of the land.
Another fucking lord. Lord this, lord
another lord.
Quad.
Okay. But anyway, he's this lord, and the lord's son had kind of been coming on to Sorcha, and he kept flirting with her and kept trying to ask her out, basically. And she said, look, like, that's great, but I'm not into you. Aslan, your sister, is my friend, and that's great and wonderful, but I don't want to marry you. He had offered her, an engagement. She said no, and then she gets kidnapped not too long after. So she says, I suspect it was him. What I find interesting about this is that her father at first is like, no, I don't think it.
I mean, he doesn't want to believe his liege lord, his possibly future liege lord, is, a horrible person. Maybe it's just some conservative, oh, no, they can't do that. Our lord won't do that, or something like that.
Yeah, I guess. They're too good a person to do that. It doesn't seem likely.
It just reminded me of discourse that happens around like when women try to come forward about shit.
Oh yeah.
And then the men even closest to them are like, huh, no, that person would never do that.
That couldn't be true. Let me believe this fucking random other bitch instead of my own kid.
So anyway, they go to Lord Darrow, and Aslan and Sorcha have a great little reunion, and she introduces Aslan to Orek, and they have this great reunion. Well, then they go to Lord Darrow, and she explains exactly what happened, how the slavers took her and to this orc camp and blah blah blah. Well, the Lord's son, God, what was his name? I can't even remember because I was like trying to block
with J or
something with a J. Anyway,
Jehovah's Witness.
staggers into the throne room like drunk. Like he's drunk and Sorcha gets pissed because he starts again like hitting on her, even though Orek's like standing right there. Her father and brothers are right there, and he goes right back into his crap behavior. And he does admit that it was him, because he comes in, and when he sees her, he's like, "You shouldn't be alive." Like he starts to say something like, "You shouldn't."
Well, she confronts him because she directly asks, "Did you sell me?"
Mm-hmm.
I felt a little anticlimactic here. Because it's good that they almost immediately turned on him when he finally admitted it, but it felt like I get that's not the final climax of the story, but it felt just a little anticlimactic here.
Maybe.
I can see that.
But I did kind of like the that sort of confrontation. And I love how immediately we see Lord Darrow, because a lot of times in these stories, very true public stories that we could talk about, but anyway, we won't. But very public stories in the real world, you have the parents defending their son who has done all these horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can look back. There's plenty of cases.
Mm-hmm.
But what I loved about this was this refreshing take that Lord Darrow is immediately like, no, nope, you were going to be my heir. And he even turns to Sorcha and he says, you get to decide his fate. But he says, but go easy on me. He's like, for my sake. But he's like, you get to decide his fate. So basically, Sorcha could have done anything. What she does is, she says, you will strip him of his titles. He will go and he will work in the House of Healing. So basically he becomes a healer, is forced to become a healer.
Gives up all claim, basically Night's Watch almost, except for healing.
And then she says, and you will give your titles to your daughter, Aslan, which I was like,
right. It's nice when something nice happens and we're like, it probably wouldn't be like that in our country, but it's nice to see it somewhere.
And it was just nice to have Lord Darrow really sticking up for Sorcha and really sticking up for Orek in a lot of ways too. They get this sort of bond between all of them where he's, supporting. And I really liked that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to read the next book and see, because that'll be more about the royal family and all that.
Yes. So her second book, guys, we're definitely going to read on this podcast because it was so good. But anyway, it is going to be about Aslan, so her best friend. So it's going to be about her and her character. So I'm really excited. The cover art was just released the other day. So again,
exciting news.
Yes. Again, check out S.E. Wendel's Instagram. She is awesome and great.
We can link it.
Yeah, that's right. I'll link it below when I put these episodes up. But anyway, going back to the climax of the story, we get this first climax.
So the baby climax.
Yes, the little baby climax. And then the second one where Keely says, who is the youngest child of Sorcha's family. She comes out of the woods one day and she's screaming bloody murder. And she's like, there's a monster in the woods. Well, everyone in the family, again, something that Orek pointed out that I loved, because he's like, everybody in the family, her brothers and the father even, they were like, oh, it's fine. She's making stuff up. She's a little kid. And he's like, dude, your daughter was taken by slavers
and sold to orcs. This is a fantasy world of monsters. I mean,
yeah, dude, no. Have you learned fucking nothing?
And he goes out to patrol and he's like, no, I'm going out there to make sure your home is safe, since none of you are gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Useless
so,
family.
So of course Orek goes out, and of course what he discovers is Silas. So he and Silas get into this huge fight. He kills Silas and buries him on the property. But then he realizes that Silas could be leading the entire orc clan to the family, to the farm. He takes off without telling the family or Sorcha anything.
Right. That was fucking stupid.
Yes. Oh my God. I was like heartbroken because of course Sorcha was going to be heartbroken because she's just going to think.
He's like, I'm just not going to say anything. And there she's going to be mad. And it's like, yep, she sure was. And it was useless.
Yes. So anyway, of course, Sorcha, after a couple of pages of like, she's crying and being pitiful and sobbing, she finally, gets up and she says, we are going to go after him. We're going to go find him. We're going to go get him. So of course they do. And they ride out, and actually Lord Darrow also meets up with them with her father.
Yeah. So you've got the whole squad going.
Yeah, the whole squad is going.
Following Orek, who is on the trail of a camp, an orc camp that they were coming to look for Sorcha to take her back. And he runs into them and is like, ends up fighting them, right?
Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, bitch. And he actually ends up killing Krull, who is like the leader of the clan. He kills him because Krull basically is like, you took her from our camp and now I'm gonna kill you. Well, of course Sorcha is there. Like they come upon the legion of,
they end up saving him. Like he was like, gonna get killed.
So this whole,
they're saving Orek, not the other guy.
Yeah, not the other guy. No, they don't save him. But they end up kind of saving Orek. And Orek is given the chance because the orcs see this. They see this whole thing happen. And, they tell him, by rights, you are the leader of this clan now because you killed our clan leader. Like you can be the clan leader.
I'm kind of surprised the clan leader came on that trip.
I mean, what was his was stolen, so it's an insult, for at least from, I think.
Yeah, like that makes sense. That makes sense. But it's also like,
I don't think he's supposed to be the smartest person. I mean, he's like,
yeah, I feel like I would let the professionals deal with it. Like if it,
his professionals are, hunters, or I mean,
yeah, no, the professionals aren't,
professionals.
Professionals. So
the dumbasses you had guarding her in the first place. So I mean,
that's true.
Exactly. No, but what I love the ending though, because he decides.
Yeah, so then he's the clan leader, right? And he decides he doesn't want it.
Yeah, he decides he doesn't want it.
And then he gives it to his homie. Yeah, his like this
the
nice
there.
The one nice orc that was ever nice to him.
Well, and what I love is that Lord Darrow and her father are there too. And Lord Darrow kind of makes a deal with the orcs, which I think obviously is going to come back as a little plot line in book 2. But he says, we have never worked with the orcs before, but I would like to end this slave trade. I want to work with you. He basically says, we want to work with you because if we work together, we can make this a better home for everybody.
Right. Like y'all won't have to fight us. We don't want to fight you. We're just trying to keep people from getting kidnapped.
Mm-hmm. And something that I love towards the end of the story is that when you're reading kind of the epilogue, you get this sense that more magical people are coming into the human communities because they mention, there's orcs that come into the community, but there's also elves coming into the community now. There's
there's like lots of like different
people. Like lots of different
beings.
Like lots of different fantasy beings, magical creatures are starting to come into the human communities because they feel more comfortable and more accepted. So I would love to see if this author has any books planned past the second book. I would be excited because she mentioned like elves, and she mentioned like I think manticores.
Oh, we've
and
got so
like
many ideas.
centaurs, and I'm like, I was like, when I was reading that for the second
So
time,
much. That book, it was cute. We're looking forward to seeing it. And like basically they ended up getting their own house, right? Like they just
yeah, like they end up getting married at the end. It's this beautiful little scene.
They have more raccoon pets.
They have more raccoon pets.
Yep.
Like I love how they mentioned that Orek like started feeding other animals of the forest. So now he had like this whole like
They have a
horde,
fucking
like,
homestead out there. Honestly, that's the dream.
skunk and like
We got all the guys.
like that's just cute. And definitely, guys, you should check this author out. She is an indie author. She is awesome.
Check out our interview we had too.
Yes, I am editing that interview tomorrow. So that's on my list. And then I'll probably get that up sometime next week, for you guys to enjoy. But definitely check out her other work. She's got plenty of books that I'm putting on my list. Like she's got a gargoyle set of books.
Also, Sam, what did you think of the book overall?
I thought it was good overall. I mean, it's not something I generally would pick up in a bookstore, but I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean that's like Aaron and I had this book club because none of these are things I would pick up at a bookstore. Aaron's like, "We're reading them," and I'm like, "All right, I'm here for it. Let's go."
Hey,
and I have fun.
Halfling was your pick.
It was. No, it was good. I liked it. I was like, "Yeah, let's go."
I think something that we actually talked about this, where we will find, so when you buy a book on Amazon, you get recommendations too from other indie authors. So there's been books that I've been putting on our Cats and Book Pass. There have been other books that I have been putting on the Cats and Books podcast list from other indie authors. Some of them indie authors, some of them traditionally published authors. But I've been putting them on our list because they look good. They look like fun. And I just think it's something we would like to continue doing.
Yeah, the list keeps going. Anyway, I guess since we're done, we can go ahead and be done. But this has been fun. I gotta go watch Dune 2 tonight.
Oh,
yeah, that came out yesterday.
Oh, it came out yesterday?
Yeah, in theater.
Anyway, well, yeah, we would like to go see
But thanks for joining us, Sam.
Well,
and Aaron, you're always here, so I'm not going to thank you for. No, I'm kidding.
No, and we hope you guys like our outcoming content. We've got a couple different. Obviously, we've got.
Don't worry, they don't.
Up, and yes, they do. Shut up.
They hate it.
Hate it.
Hate listen to us.
Hey, Sam listens to every episode we make.
What a good man. What a good man. It's probably because you have a gun. Like, did you listen to it yet? You better have listened to it, or
yeah, she just doesn't shut up if I don't.
Yeah, you're like, well, exactly.
Me too. I just threatened not to feed her, so you know.
Oh my gosh. All right, guys, we are headed off. Thank you so much.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye. And some